Welcome to Simplyrobotix, the podcast, a podcast exploring the animation industry one episode at a time. I'm your host, Monique, and you can find me on all social media platforms at Simplyrobotix. That is Simplyrobotix, and use the hashtag Simplyrobotixpod to join on the conversation. That way I can see what you're talking about and reshare it and all that good stuff. Now, today I'm going to be talking about the Pixar Disney animated film that came out not too long ago called Luca. Luca, as this is from Disney Plus, is set in a beautiful seaside town in an Italian Riviera. It's a coming of age story about one young boy experiencing an unforgettable summer filled with gelato, pasta, and endless scooter rides. Luca shares these adventures with his newfound best friend Alberto, but all the fun is threatened by a deeply held secret. They are sea monsters from another world just below the water surface. Luca is directed by Academy Award nominee Enrico Casarosa from La Luna. I had to take my time because I did not want to butcher that man's last name. And produced by Andrea Warren of Lava and Cars 3. So, let's just leave that as being the plot and keeping it moving. We'll start off with Luca. This is from the Disney fandom website, which I have really, really been enjoying their thoroughness, if you will. I believe this is like a wiki overarching page kind of thing. And like when I was doing the Avatar episode, when I was doing Soul, Luca, when I was doing the Mitchells versus the Machines, these type of websites have been really, really helpful for me. So let's go through the characters real quick. Also, I should mention that this is going to be a spoiler episode. So if you do not want this movie to be spoiled, come back and listen to it later. But if you don't care, you actually want to hear what this movie could be about and some spoilers before you decide to watch it, then continue listening. So for the third time, back to the characters. Luca is the protagonist of the film. He's a sea monster that is influenced by Alberto to venture to the surface. Once he discovers that his parents are going to send him to the deep, deep sea away from the surface with his uncle, Luca and Alberto escape to the Italian town of Porto Rosso and enter the Porto Rosso Cup so that they can buy a Vespa and then see the whole world together. Alberto is Luca's new best friend, also a sea monster, and he actually lives on, I'm just going to translate this to English, and it's like the island of the sea, which is an Italian island, and he doesn't have a parental guardian. They get into that a little bit about what happens to, well, just one parent, not both. But Alberto helps Luca escape, right, to Porto Rosso. And Alberto is a little bit older. That's worth mentioning. He's like, if Luca is like 10, 11, Alberto is like 13, 14 type of thing. Next is Giulia, who is an Italian teenage girl staying with her father, Massimo, in Porto Rosso for the summer. She befriends Luca and Alberto, and they become like the underdogs as they try to win the Porto Rosso Cup. I love Giulia. She is, I'm saying she's sweet. She's precious. She cares a whole lot about, like, or I should say she has a good moral compass, right? And I just really appreciate her contribution to the film. You know, they make a nice team, and I get she is around Alberto's age, but I also kind of wonder if she's just a tad bit older. But I think if anything, they're the same. She's definitely also older than Luca. Then we have Luca's mom, Daniela Paguro, that she's just determined to keep Luca safe. And she regularly warns him about the dangers beyond the sea, you know, about the land monsters that live there. And she's not a pushover. Like, you know, her number one rule is just don't go near the surface, you know, and clearly we see in the film that she's not playing about that. And she goes to great lengths to just show how serious she is about not going to the surface. Next, we have Dad Lorenzo Paguro. he's like definitely the yin to mom's yang, right? He's well-meaning, but he seems to be very distracted, not really all that present. And he's very passionate about his hobby of raising crabs. Like, that's his thing, which, you know, I guess that's always also kind of like interesting. Like, we can't go off on too many tangents, but yeah, he's proud about raising these crabs and having them be like award-winning type of things, you know? Sure, fine. Next, we have Grandma Paguro. I like her a lot. Really like Grandma. Grandma and Luca, like, they have an understanding, you know, they're right here with it. And she sees a spark in Luca's eye that he's just longing for more, and she celebrates it. She like low-key supports him, like she covers for him when he comes home like really, really late or something like that from hanging out with Alberto. She knows that breaking a rule here and there is just a part of growing up, and she's just all too happy to be like, you know, I didn't see anything. And she's actually a pretty cool character, but you know, she's just, there's a nice reveal at the end of the film with the grandma. Giulia's dad, Massimo Marcovaldo. You know, I want to say it kind of with like some Spanish, but I'm like, oh, it's Italian. Giulia's dad is an imposing, tattooed, one-armed fisherman. He doesn't really talk too much, but when he does, you know, you're like, ooh. Like, you know, and he's clearly like someone that doesn't play about catching fish and like killing harmful creatures or what have you that are beneath the surface in the ocean. You know, it seems like he's always had the intention of catching and killing a sea monster. So definitely when Luca and Alberto first meet him, they are shook. They're intimidated. Like, he's a big guy too. And we learn that he, of course, is like a gentle giant type of thing, you know, that, and he has a huge soft spot for his daughter. Going forward into the visual style, it's like your standard Pixar Disney film. Like, you know, I don't think there was anything super extraordinary, amazing about their visual approach to the film. Like, it just looks good. And that's it. And I didn't come here for anything more than that from this film, you know. I'm actually surprised that I checked out the film to begin with. But you know, you just, I don't know. I don't think you could really go wrong with Disney Pixar films visually. Like, they have a formula, it works for them, and that's just is what it is. So moving on to animation style, it's fluid animation. Just no pun intended, but it's just what we've are used to, like what's kind of running through our veins in terms of what good animation is. That's what they're giving it. I don't really have anything to call out from it that like was memorable or anything like that. It's just standard. Now, when we start going into the storytelling, I was talking with my friend Jen, who's no stranger to the show of Animation Complex. She was on episode 3 and episode 30, if you want to go back and hear a little bit about, you know, whatever we were talking about in those episodes. And as we were talking about this film, she highlighted that she really liked the world building in Luca and how immersive it felt as a viewer. And that got me thinking that, like, I think Pixar did a really good job of making this feel contained. Like, we start off the film in the ocean, and the ocean is vast. We know this, but it didn't feel so enormous, like you will get lost in the story and in the world building. And then when they venture off into Porto Rosso, you really got that like intimate feel of this being like this, you know, off the path kind of town and community. And I really like the way that they approach that sense, like I said, of being like an intimate feeling, because even though these characters have their journeys that they're going through so that, you know, by the end of the film, they have grown in one way or another, it didn't feel so expansive and massive. It felt like very much like we're like, oh, just like yeah, just I'm hugging myself right now, listeners, because y'all can't see me. But I'm like, yeah, it just was like a really cozy type of feeling. So I really appreciated containing that, like I said, intimate feel. I thought it was funny how they referred to humans as land monsters. I think we should just start referring to each other as land monsters, because of the more that you become, or the more that you pay attention to like humans as a global species, you're like, yeah, they are land monsters. So when they were making those comments in the beginning, I was starting to wonder if it was going to go into like box trolls territory. If you haven't seen Box Trolls, I think it does a really good job about like being prejudiced and confronting and breaking down prejudice of group of individuals, if you will. So I was wondering if there was going to be a moment where someone was like, all you guys have to do is understand one another, and have like a monologue kind of thing, you know? And it didn't do that, but you still got a little bit of that feeling. But I say all that to say it wasn't like heavy handed, and it wasn't like Box Trolls completely. So, but it just kind of, sparked that memory. I also wanted to point out that when Luca goes and visits Alberto's place, it reminded me so much of The Little Mermaid, because Alberto had been collecting all these human knickknacks and whatever, if you will, from the ocean. And he's been putting it as how he thinks it would make sense and things would function. And I was like, oh, I wonder how much of that was intentional to the little, like bringing the Little Mermaid stuff into Luca, versus how much of it was just like kind of happenstance. But I think that seems appropriate and fitting. Another thing about Luca's mom was just how they like really hit the way moms are on the head. Like, she was being stern. She was putting her foot down, she was basically sending him off to the deep sea and then grabbing his face and being like this. And like, it's because I love you, right? And he's like, and I'm like, yeah, parents absolutely do that. They like make you miserable, like ground you, put you on punishment, whatever the stuff, and be like, it's because I love you, and because mama knows best, or daddy knows best, or your parent, your guardian figure knows best. And you're like, if you know best and you only want the best for me, why are you making me so miserable right now? Like, why are you doing this? So, okay. I also felt really bad when, spoiler, Luca betrayed Alberto on like the beach in front of Julia and the other kids. I was like, yikes. It just really sucked. Like, I was really legitimately bummed out with that. Like, Luca, how could you? How could you do that to Alberto? Like, yeah, Alberto is jealous of your friendship, and he kind of is trying to sabotage your friendship with Julia, because you're probably the first friend he's had, like, ever, or in a really long time. But you're going to hang him out to dry like that? No. So, just fast forwarding a bit, to recap some of the plot still in the story, when Luca and Alberto and company are seeing Julia off on a train because, the Ponderosa Cup happened, she's going back home to get ready for school, and they're at a train station, and I found myself getting teary-eyed. I was like, Monique, what is getting into you? Because my friends like to joke and say I have no heart because, I didn't cry when Mufasa died. I didn't cry when Ellie from Up died. I don't really get emotional behind these animated films. So to find myself, kind of getting watery-eyed, I was like, oh, excuse me. But on a different episode, I will unpack a bit why that moment resonated with me. But I was just like, I didn't expect to feel feelings, So it's a really short episode to talk about my final thoughts I enjoyed the film so much that I watched it twice just for this review. Normally, I just watch the film once and just do the episode. But I was like, no, I feel like I really should watch this again. One, because I want to see, like, you know, how I feel watching it the second time. And then two, because I actually enjoyed it. And with most of the movies I've been talking about on this podcast, I have not really wanted to intentionally watch the film again. But Luca, I was like, I'm gonna watch again. Not just like if it's on, I'll watch it. Cool. So for my final thoughts, overall, I just think this movie is a decent movie. It's pretty solid. You know, it checks off all the Pixar boxes. It gets you in your feels. You know, you have it does that. Sorry, listeners. It just, the storytelling is just really good. The whole beginning, middle, and end. I feel like you don't get caught up in like the predictability of it either. So I watched it again twice. So I don't know. I think if you also like movies that are maybe a little too happy, maybe you won't like this, or maybe this will not be your cup of tea. I'm trying to think about the people that I know that listen and like the type of stuff that they have responded pretty well to. And I'm like, I don't know if y'all will really like this or enjoy this. You know what I would say that I didn't mention earlier? It's not a musical. Woo! Thank goodness it's not a musical. It has good music. You know, the soundtrack is really, really beautiful, but it's not a musical. And I appreciate that because animated musicals they got a stronghold on us. And, yes, we need a break. Sing 2. We need a break. So, thank you again for listening, for checking this out. I know my last episode, well, I don't know when this episode is actually coming out. I'm recording a bunch of stuff, trying to get things out. But I'll just say thank you. Thank you for sticking with me, for sharing and posting my show. And there's just so much coming, you know, and I am very excited for the future. And like I said, I think this episode will come out before the episode that's in my brain. So, again, on all social media, Simplyrobotix, SIMPLYROBOTIX. If you would like to come on the show or have somebody come on the show to promote a project or whatever have you, I do have sponsorship packages. So, you know, reach out to me and we could talk about that. I'm looking for and would love to have more sponsors for the podcast and for some of my other endeavors. So I'm starting to accept that so we can work things out. Yeah. So I can say, I can't even say because I don't know what order these episodes are coming out, but there's some movie reviews, there's some short reviews, there's some personal life updates, there's an Autodesk episode. So this has to come out in the midst of all of that. So once again, thank you. Always in the episode show notes are links to the trailer, links to whatever other stuff that comes with this. So see you soon. Bye.